Anybody there?
Well, I want to welcome you guys to yet another episode of the Dad Chronicles. My name is Ed, your host, and with me today, I have, for all of you Otterbots fans and you ambassadors out there, I have the general manager of the Otterbots, Austin Scher. Hopefully I said your last name correct.
Perfect. Thank you so much for having me, man. This is exciting.
Awesome. I greatly appreciate you coming on. As you can tell already, I've had quite a few ambassadors already. So this was the next step into this whole talking to your Otterbots people here. So I really appreciate it. So like I go into everybody, I will ask you, you were born and raised in Durham, North Carolina, correct?
Yes, sir.
That's awesome. It is actually one of my favorite minor league teams. I grew up, watching the movie, obviously, Bull Durham. So, tell me, how did you, Austin, become a fan of the sport?
Yeah. So this is it's my favorite story to tell. So when I was born, Durham was kind of more infamous than famous. I'd like to think that we've put ourselves on the map as famous by this point. But when I was growing up, there wasn't much going on downtown. It was largely old abandoned tobacco warehouses. Main Street was all but closed businesses. There were a few things that were open. There were maybe one or two annual festivals that would bring people downtown. But when the Bulls moved to their current location and built what became the AAA ballpark, and that affiliation with the Rays has maintained ever since they moved. It kind of started this, kind of almost a genesis of a rebirth of the city of Durham.
Yep.
And for me, this almost sounds silly, but I have pictures of myself when I was 3 and 4 years old, dressed up as Willie Bull for Halloween. My preschool took field trips to Bulls games. Me and my family had mini plans. We had season tickets. I remember the old sponsors of the in-game promotions. I remember getting there early and yelling at the staff members through the gates. Quite honestly, I remember when me and my mom and my sister used to ride our bikes to the games, and we would just lock our bikes to the front gate. Like that's how early on in the Bulls, new stadium that I was there. And, so I grew up falling in love with the game. And as a kid from Durham who was born at Duke Hospital, my professional sports were the Bulls and Duke basketball. Yep. Right. I mean, and I apologize for all of the Duke haters out there. I know, Ed, on the night of recording, they're kicking off their season against Kentucky here tonight. But
oh man,
when I grew up, it was the Bulls and nothing. Right. So we had the Orioles were 5-6 hours north. The Braves were 5-6 hours south. The Hornets were 3.5 hours west. But the Bulls were it. So I didn't even realize it. But every day that we went to a game, like every summer, I was falling in love with what eventually would become my career. And I didn't appreciate that until I got to college. But yeah, man, it started with the Bulls. And I have a tattoo of the Hit Bowl win stake on my arm that I got actually before I started working in baseball. But it's always going to be there. So yeah, that's where it started.
That's awesome.
And, forever shout out the Bulls. Yeah.
That's awesome. It's fun because I was just there doing this summer, and that whole area, it is just gorgeous now. I mean, it's nothing like, where you probably grew up, when you were young. It's totally different. I mean, don't get me wrong. Absolutely love that ballpark. It's gorgeous.
Yeah, man, it's crazy. I mean, even it's hard to believe, but looking back 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, the Durham Performing Arts Center was built, backing up to the lot of the ballpark. There are apartment buildings and hotels and the American Tobacco District, or I think I misnamed that, but there's an outdoor ice skating rink that the Hurricanes built right across the street. There's college housing, there's apartment housing, there's homes, there's townhomes. I think that they're going to start construction on their Miracle League field here soon enough. That's kind of diagonal from the main gate.
Wow.
And when that ballpark was built, you can look back at pictures. It was quite literally, it was just the ballpark in an empty lot. And I like to use the bowls as an example. And then even just within my region here, you can look at Greensboro and Charlotte and Lynchburg. And, I love to hate the sock puppets, but I do love Burlington. You can look at Burlington. You can look at Kannapolis, all as examples of what happens when you have a community organization within a baseball team, right? Like all of us will always play baseball each and every summer. But what separates us from, some other organizations and some other leagues, and I know that we're the Appalachian League, but I still like to think of ourselves underneath that minor league baseball umbrella, right? But
you are,
look at what we do within the community. Yeah, exactly. So I love to talk about the Bulls. I love to talk about my experiences there. And, I've been fortunate enough over the course of my career to meet, quite a few of their longstanding staff members and exchange stories of when I was a kid and when they were just getting started. My favorite story, they were coming off of a championship. So I believe this was either like 2007 or 2008. But opening night, BJ Upton was the starting shortstop. And they had fireworks scheduled, and the game was set to go into extras. I think it was tied, or they were down 1 in the bottom of the 9th. BJ comes up and hits this monstrous home run, and the place just goes bananas, right? Like it was banner unveil night. The place was packed. And my memory, and this has obviously probably been romanticized, right? But in my memory, the fireworks started like as he was rounding third. Like it was like, it felt like a moment out of The Natural. I love the Bulls,
movie,
and I like to look at them as an example. But yeah,
that's amazing. Yeah, like we all fantasize about that moment and all that. And you're right though. Like it probably didn't happen that way, but like I can definitely picture it. As soon as he's rounding third, fireworks are going off, because like that's it, they win. Oh, that's awesome. Love it. And it's BJ Upton. I mean, come on now.
Exactly, dude. That team, man, like BJ Upton, Evan Longoria, Darnell McDonald, Delman Young, Carl Crawford might have come a couple years after, but he might have been on that team. I can't remember any of the pitchers, but like 4 or 5 of them ended up going on to pitch for the Rays. A couple of them were actually on the Royals 2015 World Series team just after one of their trades that was orchestrated. But yeah, man, it runs deep. And my grandfather was born and raised in Brooklyn as a Yankees fan, and he's one of the big reasons that I'm a baseball fan in general. But he used to always ask me before he passed. He had this deep New York, kind of Brooklyn Jewish accent that's so distinctive. And he would always ask me, he's like, "Hey, when are you going to go work for the major leagues? When are you going to go work for the majors?" And I would always tell him, look, I appreciate that. I love Major League Baseball. I'll go watch games as often as I can. But the thing about minor league baseball that gets me is being so intimate to the field, so intimate to the staff, the team, the coaches, the players, and it all started in Durham. Yeah. Exactly. So yeah, it's my favorite story to tell. Like it really is, like being able to be that close to a ballpark, especially now what has become, the pinnacle of brand success within minor league baseball. I appreciate the Denver Broncos, but they ripped off the Bulls. It was not the other way around.
I'm with you there.
Jumping I'm 100% started in Durham.
As a Cleveland Browns fan, screw the Broncos. Okay, I'm with you. I'm 100% with the Durham Bulls there.
There you go.
So it's funny you say that, because a lot of people say, "Oh, the minor leagues." You know what though? I have gotten more interaction from minor league teams, general managers, people in the business, from minor league teams than I have from any major league teams, and that's the honest truth. And I'm sure you see it, but like I like to post ahead of the day and all that. And every team so far that I post, right off the bat, they'll like it, they'll retweet it. I posted a couple of major league ones, crickets. So yeah, I'm with you. I think, people, like to put down a lot of the times the minor leagues, and I'm like, no, you guys you don't even know what you're missing. The community, environment, it's, second to none.
It is, and I know you and Johnny Bolin talked about it a little bit on Johnny's episode, but it really is, man. It's something special, and it's interesting. I forget what award it was. National League Rookie of the Year. When I worked for the Greensboro Grasshoppers, Trevor Rogers came through as a pitcher my last year there, and he's a finalist for the National League Rookie of the Year. And then when I was with the Daytona Tortugas, Jonathan India came through, and he's a finalist for National League Rookie of the Year. And this is not a knock on either one of those guys, right? Like when you get to that level, you've got the added security, and you've got the underground tunnels, and you've got the buses. And I can say for a matter of fact that both of those guys, when Rogers was in Greensboro and when India was in Daytona, they were the nicest guys. And when season ticket holders or fans that were coming in for one game, when they stopped him after a game and asked him for a picture, asked him for an autograph, not only were they happy to do that, but then they would also have just like full-blown conversations.
That's awesome.
India coming through Daytona as a Florida Gator, we had a lot of Gator fans that were fans of ours. And one guy in particular asked him to sign his calf. And I was standing at the gate that night outside the clubhouse, and Jonathan kind of looked at him like, I mean, all right, man, like whatever you want. And he signed. And then this guy shows up the next day. He immediately went to a tattoo shop, which there are plenty of in Daytona Beach, right, and got his signature tattooed on his calf. And it was just one of those things, like some people might call that crazy, but I just think it's a cool byproduct of being within this level of baseball where you have that opportunity for interaction.
I think that's awesome. I mean, don't get me wrong. I would never get a signature of a baseball player tattooed on me, but you know what? To each their own, and that's okay. That's perfectly okay.
Exactly.
That is
exactly.
amazing.
But yeah, man, it's a special thing. So like I to my grandfather before he passed, I would always tell him, hey, like I'm not going anywhere. And I'm sure this will come up later, but the thing that got me most excited when the opportunity came up for me to come to Danville and take this job, which was about a year ago, it was maybe like 48 weeks ago, I took my first trip to Danville and looked around. We're a small ballpark, and that's not a bad thing. No. It's a ballpark where when you walk the concourse, you're going to see everybody. And especially coming off of a year of COVID where there was no baseball here, the biggest thing that I heard from fans and community members was, man, like get me back in the ballpark. Like there are people who, and it's no fault of anybody's. You don't get their phone numbers. You don't know where they live. You don't know where they hang out. You see them at the ballpark. And the last game of the regular season, you say your goodbyes, and then you look forward to opening night. And people went a year without being able to see that kind of mini community that's built up within the ballpark. And for me, when I walked through that ballpark for the first time, just looked around and I knew, man, like this is something. Like we have 688 reserved seats. The rest of the seating is all just general admission bleachers. And I, kind of looked at the empty seating bowl, and I kind of thought to myself, like, man, this is one of those places where I could know everybody by name. And I could know when there's a new face in their seats, it's probably a family member or friend who's in from out of town, right? If there's a new kid, it might be a child or grandparent or niece or nephew that's visiting from out of town. It's a really cool place to be. And with all due respect to Major League Baseball, again, like I'm a fan. If I was working for the Dodgers, say, right, I might be able to make my way around the 200 level, but there's no way in hell I'm making my way through field side seating. No. Outfield, the 200 level, the 300 level, the 400 level, like there's just no way. And even within those sections, there's 400 people, right? Like in each section, and you've got to go section to section. And that's, again, I respect the folks that do those jobs. But it's just not something that intrigues me, because I feel like it does, kind of take away from that intimacy of the community that's built within our ballparks.
I agree. I think that's completely a fair point. Going into a ballpark, the intimacy of a minor league baseball game, you just don't get it anywhere else. And it's such a cool feeling when you're there. You're sitting to someone and you'll see them again the next game, because that's just how it goes. And then someone can be sitting on the outfield, but you know them already, because again, the intimacy of everything. I'm a forever minor league baseball. And you said, no disrespect to the majors, because I'm a baseball fan. I love my major league team here in Cleveland, but you're right. There's just no comparing. It's just apples and oranges at that point, So
yep, exactly.
So let me go, because I did a little bit of research, on you before, we did this, and I really want to get to know. Obviously you worked, you did some work over in one of my favorites leagues, in the Northwoods League. Explain to me here, my friend, what was your position as a beer mover for the Madison Mallards?
Yeah, yeah. So this is another one of my favorite stories to tell. So I left Durham. I went to college at the University of Wisconsin. So it was exactly 999.8 miles between my front door in Durham and my dorm. So I like to say I left and I went 1,000 miles away
You
for
did.
college. But my yeah, so one of my best friends was 2 years older than me, and he interned with the Mallards the summer after his junior year, so my freshman year. And we were both huge sports fans. Like we would watch sports together. That's how we got to know each other. He's actually now the sports information director at Rutgers for their football,
Wow.
men's basketball, and lacrosse team. So he's kind of stayed in the industry, but went the collegiate route. But he told me after that summer, he was like, dude, like you've got to intern for the Mallards. Like at the very least, you've got to apply. Like it's awesome. Like you learn so much. It's a great atmosphere. And at this point, right, like I was coming off of a lifetime, like 17 years of going to Bulls games, and still in my mind, I was like, oh man, I don't know. Like I don't know if that's really what I want to do. So that summer, I didn't apply. I delivered pizzas for a few years while I was up there, and was making good money doing that. So I had no problem continuing to deliver pizzas. But after my junior year, I was like, you know what? I am going to apply for an internship. But because I was a procrastinator and because I did not ever check any deadlines, the day that I went to send in my application for the internship was like 4 days, 3 or 4 days after they stopped taking applications. So I was like, okay, this is a roadblock, but I'm gonna like see it through. I'm gonna see what I can do. So they had an open job fair for their game day staff a couple weekends later. So I went. I sat down with who I just thought was a guy. Like I sat down in a room with a guy who was wearing a Mallard shirt, and I was like, "Look, man, I'm going to be honest with you. I've gotten caught my schoolwork this semester. I missed the deadline to apply for an internship. Do you have any positions that would kind of give me a little bit more behind the scenes? Like I want to explore this as a potential career." I told him the story about going to Bulls games. And he said, well, I've got something for you, but I'm not sure if you're going to like it. And I said, lay it on me. He said, well, the title is beer mover. The good news is you show up 3 hours before every game and you don't leave until an hour or two after every game. So you're working, game day intern hours. You don't get the non-game day experience, but you'll see every inch of the ballpark. You'll interact with fans. You'll interact with staff. You'll kind of get that thing. And I said, all right, well, why wouldn't I like this? He said, well, your job is to lug kegs. Like that's literally all you're going to be doing is just moving kegs. And that ballpark for any listeners that have been to the state of Wisconsin or from the state of Wisconsin, beer is water. Like even
Yes,
on a
it is.
Tuesday night, there is more beer moved in that ballpark than on a Friday or Saturday in most other ballparks that I've been to. And they had something like 130 taps throughout the ballpark, like just absolutely insane amount of beer. So every day I would show up. I would get every single, portable bar, the stationary bars, the concession stand, the hospitality areas, set up all the taps, take an inventory of, hey, all right, the Bud Light at right field 3 is probably going to kick before anything else at right field 3. So know that Bud Light is going to be called out. And I would literally go through 3 or 4 shirts a day, just like sweating through
Oh
everything.
my God.
Most nights, like driving home, I went like 5 miles an hour under the speed limit because I reeked of beer. And I knew that if I got pulled over, even though I
They
was
were gonna
completely stone
question you
cold
no matter
sober,
what.
that everything like, hey, sir, we're going to need to search the car. Go ahead and hop out for us. Right. So like I knew, but it was awesome. And at the end of that summer, I worked every single game. I got to know the interns. Like I was their age, right? Like I like most of the game day staff was either high school students or folks that just wanted some extra spending money or retirees. So my peers were the interns. And ironically enough, one of their interns literally lived in the apartment across the hall from me. So we got to be pretty good friends. He actually is now the general manager of Breeze Stevens Field, where the Madison Football Club plays, which is owned by the same ownership group as the Mallards. So he continued with them. But yeah, man, it was one of those things. So then that next summer was when I got on my applications. I was one of the first ones to apply for everything. So I applied for an internship back with the Mallards. I applied for a few other ones closer to home. And that's when I ended up taking the internship with the then Burlington Royals,
I'm
who are
looking at it right
obviously
now.
now
Yeah.
the sock puppets. Yep.
It all comes back, and I'm glad to hear that it all comes back to the sock puppets. That is amazing. Uh, you know, how is it that, and I was having this conversation with Anderson of the Sock Puppets. He went from Northeast Ohio, he went south to college, and you go from south to the north where it is cold. It is actually colder than here in Cleveland. Why, first of all?
So yeah, so somewhat ironically, my mom's family is from the Lorraine, Oberlin, Amherst area, so like northeast suburbs. Yeah, so my like my childhood memories of winter were fun, right? Like we would make snowmen, we would have snowball fights, we would go sledding. So in my mind, like that's what winter was, and I wanted cold weather, which I now realize was a bit insane of me.
Yeah.
But like I only applied to 5 schools, and somewhat ironically, the closest or the farthest south was Ohio State. Like I applied to Northwestern, Notre Dame, Wisconsin, Boston College, and Ohio State. And I would have went to Ohio State if I had not gotten into Wisconsin. I was in marching band in high school. I played trumpet. I always wanted to be a part of the Ohio State marching band.
That's
But
cool
obviously
stuff.
now no regrets. Like the best years of my life were at Wisconsin, and love the Badgers and love Madison with all of my heart. But yeah, man. And then that summer, and Anderson and I were co-interns on that Royal staff, and that's where we got to know each other. And we lived together for a few years when we were both working for the Tortugas. I hate to admit this in a public forum, but he's one of my closest friends, like one of my best friends. If I ever get married, he's going to be in the wedding party. Like we had experiences that summer in Burlington that nobody can ever take from us. And now that we're 48 minutes apart, back in the Appalachian League together as rivals, it's a pretty cool thing, man. But that's like what other industry do you get that in besides baseball?
It just makes it fun, and I don't know what it is, that this rivalry between Burlington and Danville. It is amazing. It's one of those things where you're just like, I know they're friends, everybody knows you guys are friends and all that, but this bantering on social media is absolutely fabulous, and I'm all for it. So you guys nailed it when it comes to, like, do you guys just sit down and it's like, what, we're going to work here, we're going to do these, we're going to be general managers here, why don't we start this social media battle with each other? This is going to bring fans. Is that how you guys just sat down and plan all that out?
So sometimes, full transparency, sometimes it is scripted, right? Like we'll text each other before we say something, just to kind of give each other the heads up, like, hey, if you're not by your phone or if you're not by your laptop, this is what's coming, just so you have an idea. But more times than not, it's just organic stuff. And
it's great
because we know each other so well, and because the organizations are so close, right? And like the geography of the Appalachian League is interesting. The 4 teams in Eastern Tennessee are all within 20 miles of each other, right? Like they're literally right on top of each other. Bluefield and Princeton are so close together. So then you look, kind of to the east and to the south, and it's just the 2 of us. And we are a border town, so literally from my apartment, it's a 5-minute drive, into North Carolina, and it's if you don't hit traffic, or if you don't get stuck behind an 18-wheeler or a school bus, you can get from ballpark to ballpark in 45 minutes.
Oh, wow.
So, it's a commute for the teams. We're right on top of each other, and we know, our fans, and social media is a great microcosm of it, but like our fans like to have fun, right? Like that's both of our brands is fun more than anything. And if we can create an opportunity where folks are going from Danville down to Burlington, not only does it help our team, right? Like having a small cheering section in a visiting ballpark is a really cool thing, but it also then helps them, right? And when they go down to Burlington and say, man, like they have this really great in-game promotion, like you guys should do it up there, and then vice versa, where their fans come up to our ballpark.
Right.
It's a joke that I like to make, like every time that we played the Sock Puppets, whether it was parents, families, or season ticket holders, or just community members, whenever I saw a sock puppet hat or t-shirt walk through the gate, I was always like, hey, can I grab you for just 1 second? I have to direct you. Our store is right there. You've got to cover that up. You've got to get a new t-shirt. You got to get a new hat, right? But,
please change right now.
It's a fun thing. Yeah. But, it's fun for us. We brought all of our interns down to Burlington for a game this year. They brought all of their interns up to one of our games this year. And when you work as many hours as we do within the industry, to be able to have that proximity, to be able to go and, if it's $1 beer night or $2 hot dog night, to be able to kind of give everybody that experience that we are trying to create for our fans, but let them experience that as fans themselves without having to worry about, getting a hotel room or trying to find transport back and forth. It's a really, really cool thing. So yeah, like I love those sock puppets guys on a personal level, and on an organizational level. We know that we both benefit from this back and forth. Yeah.
Listen, and that's what it is. And I love that you guys just, like you said, you guys are friends, but at the same time, you guys understand that by being rivals, it makes both of you, the business, just shoot up. I mean, it's just that's how it goes, because somebody's going to pick a side, no matter what it is. Somebody's going to pick a side, and then merch sales, and then that bantering on social media, your name is mentioned all over the place. So the more the better.
Exactly. And, like I'll say, and I don't really care what Anderson has to say about this. Like, I know for a fact that he has some of our merch. I have some of their merch, like I'm not going to wear it around Danville, but when I leave town, like I'll absolutely throw on a sock puppet hat. Like, they have a great brand. We have a great brand.
I agree.
So it's
I have
one
both
of those things that yeah, exactly. So, like it's one of those things that, it goes back to minor league baseball as a whole realized at this point, probably like 12, 13 years ago, that if all of our ballparks had similarities, right? Like if we were all affordable, if we were all accessible, if we were all community friendly, if we all could provide memories for, kids as young as 1 and adults as old as 100, if I, as a baseball fan, am on vacation in the Berkshires, okay, where am I going to go? Oh, well, Hudson Valley's right here. Let me go see a Renegades game.
Yep.
Oh, I'm on vacation in Vegas. Well, sure, I'll go to the casino a couple nights, but the Aviators are right there. Or the 51s used to be. Like, hey, I'll go see a game. Oh, I'm in Texas. Well, Rangers tickets or Astros tickets are, $120 a pop. I could go see a Round Rock Express game, or like a Corpus Christi game for a $12 ticket, and be able to have, a bobblehead or a t-shirt giveaway at the gate, and not break the bank on a beer and a hot dog and bag of chips. So it's one of those things. And I feel very fortunate to be in the Appalachian League, right? And as all this restructuring of baseball happened prior to this season, one of the most unique things I think about our league is that we were the only league to keep our name, right?
Correct.
Like the International League has existed since the late 1900s, and now it's what, like AAA East or AAA South, like whatever it's called.
I don't like
the
that
Appalachian
at
League,
all.
It's one of those, like, and as I'm no longer an employee of minor league baseball, I can say, yeah, I agree. Like I agree. And it's one of those things that for us to still be able to have Appalachian League baseballs and to be able to have the Appalachian League, championship banner still on our wall. The Braves were here for 27 years. We are not the Danville Braves. We're not the same ownership. We're not the same management. We're not the same entertainment. But how stupid would it be for us as
to erase all that history,
to ignore that history? Exactly. And like for us, one of the things that I realized when I moved here, we as a community have 105-year history of baseball, right? So like the Danville Leafs were here in the early 1900s. They left, they came back in the 50s. They left, they came back again. The Danville 97s had 1 season here. The Danville All-Stars were part of the Negro American Association, and they actually had one of the first ballparks in the country that had lights. So one of the first ever sites of night baseball in the United States of America was in Danville, Virginia, right? So like, how ridiculous would it be as us, the Otterbots, to ignore that history rather than celebrate it and incorporate it in everything that we have going on? And again, credit to Burlington, credit to Anderson and Thomas and their staff. They've done the exact same thing in embracing their history as, the Burlington Indians, the Burlington Royals, and now obviously creating their own legacy as the Sock Puppets. But for us as a league to have maintained the same 10 communities, the same 10 ballparks, and by and large, the same 10 management and operators, the opportunity to rebrand, I really do. I think all 10 teams did a great job rebranding. Some went more traditional, some went historical, some went more creative. But I think all 10 did a really, really great job. And when you look across, especially like Twitter and Instagram, all 10 teams have followers that follow all 10 of us.
Correct.
And they're engaged with what all 10 of us are doing. And it's fans that were not engaged with the old Appalachian. Right. So it's a cool kind of thing with as many negatives as have come from the restructuring. I think that we have taken advantage as a league of trying to highlight the positives and look towards the future.
You touched on something because, when everybody rebranded, there's something for everybody to like in that league. Obviously, I chose to be a fan of the Sock Puppets, but at the same time, when I saw that you guys rebranded as the Otterbots, I'll be honest with you, the very first time I was like, I don't know, but then it took me a second, and then, I was like, okay, this can also, all I thought was 1980s version of the Transformers cartoon movie. That's I went straight there, and I'm like, listen, if they don't use Otterbots rollout, I don't know what you got. Oh, I was like, okay, fine, I'm sold. All right, I'm good.
And one of the funniest things, so when we did our brand unveil, it was still in the thick of COVID, right? It was like March 16th. And we had planned on doing it in the home clubhouse. And it's a great clubhouse. Like it's very spacious. It's one of the most spacious that I've seen in my time in baseball. But we knew we wanted to keep everybody safely distanced and separated. And we sent out an invitation thinking to ourselves, we'll have a couple people from the city. We'll have a couple news outlets. Like we'll be able to do it in the clubhouse. We got such an overwhelming response that we actually needed to move to a bigger location. So we went over to Ballad Brewing, one of our local breweries, one of our partners, a fantastic hangout spot. And they gave us their tap room. And at 10 in the morning, they're not open, right? So they didn't mind us being in the space. And the local ABC sports reporter, Dave Wells with ABC 13 WSET, he came up to me after and he said, hey man, like, just so you know, I do some voiceover work, on the side. So if there's ever anything that I can do, because we had the video unveiling everything, and we had local people kind of narrate for us, but he was like, look, like if you ever need anything, let me know. And I said, well, there is something. Instead of kind of having the PA announcer say, ladies and gentlemen, your 2021 Danville Otterbots, as they run out onto the field, we would love to have something that says Otterbots roll out. So sure enough, a week later, he sent me like 6 versions of him in his home studio, recording different versions of him in that deep kind of raspy voice, Otterbots roll out. So sure enough, that's what our team takes the field to each and every night is his voice over the PA system, just as our team is taking the field right after we have the play ball kids say play ball. So yeah,
that's amazing. Yes, that's awesome. I cannot tell you how happy I am to hear as a very young kid who idolized the Transformers, who watched Transformers, still do in my, at the age of 40. I do not care. That's amazing. That's great.
Yeah. So, and like it was one of those things where we knew that there would be people that were confused, right? Like there would be people that were, well, I wanted to go back to the Leafs, or I wanted to go back to the 97s, or I wanted to do this or that. But we knew that, like, look, what we have is special. And a great example, when this guy, he ended up being one of the nicest guys in the world, but one of the long-standing season ticket holders of the Danville Braves that we were able to get in touch with, he bought a seat for this season. And the first week we opened up on a Thursday, Friday, we were gone Saturday, Sunday, and then we were back Tuesday, Wednesday. And all of those 4 games, he had something different to complain about, right? Like our MC,
of course he did.
In my opinion, the best MC in the game. But he has this mullet, and he's boisterous and he's loud and he's entertaining and engaging. And this guy, why you got somebody with the mullet yelling at me? I just want to watch a baseball game. You know, all these different complaints that he was throwing at us. Well, when we sent out our email, you know, about our early bird season ticket renewal special, right? Like, hey, if you want your seat, you got to get it now. We've got a waiting list of people. We got to get you in. We want you to have your seat. The first person, literally the first person to walk through the door and renew his seat for next season was that guy. So, you know, like it's one of those, like, even the ones that didn't like the name at first, that were confused, that were angry, once they came out and saw what we were doing, they realized that the baseball is high level baseball. I mean, these kids are going to be on Sunday night baseball and Wednesday night baseball. They're going to be all-stars. They're going to be Hall of Famers, some of them. As soon as they realized that the baseball quality didn't decrease, and then they realized, oh man, like, there's going to be something on the concourse every night when I walk in. There's going to be different concession specials. There's going to be new merchandise. There's going to be in-game promotions that we've never seen before. They all fell in love with it. And the bigger thing is, there's a new fan base, right? Like, there's a whole new fan base that couldn't care less about the product on the field. They just want to have a good time, and they know. And exactly same thing in Burlington, right? Like, we both did a great job this year, I think, attracting that younger crowd that just wants a good time, and they know whenever we're home, whether it's a Tuesday, a Thursday, a Saturday, whatever, they can come out and have a blast. And that's the whole point, man. Like, that's like, if we're not having fun, what are we doing?
Right. Listen, I want to take my 3-year-old daughter, and do you honestly think that my daughter's going to care one bit about with the product on the field? Don't get me wrong. I know I do. My wife does, but my daughter doesn't care. She cares about the entertainment. She cares about the fun stuff. She loves the Otterbot logo because it's fun. You know, it's catchy, and it's a conversation starter. It's as simple as that.
Exactly.
That's awesome. You know, I love that he's the first one to complain and the first one to renew the season tickets. I love it.
Yep. I gotta get him back in. I gotta get a video of him or something saying, you know, well, I didn't like it at first, but now I love it.
No, you definitely, like absolutely. You know? Yes, you have to. That's great. So I want to know a little bit about you, because I'm looking here on your bio here on your website. There's a couple of things that I wanted to touch on. Obviously, you listen to podcasts. Awesome. Make sure you go ahead and hit subscribe to the Deadhead Chronicles. I'm just saying. But also, I see they
already done.
Yes. You have a collection of sneakers, my friend. Yeah. Tell me about this. I mean, obviously, this is a collector's as well, podcast as well. What's up with this collection of sneakers here?
Yeah. So my grandfather, actually in Lorraine, so his father, so my great grandfather, immigrated from Italy, and it's that classic immigration story, right? Like, I know how many dollars he actually had in his pocket? Absolutely not. But the family always says he came over with $10 and a dream, right? Like,
everybody has that. Exactly.
Story. Yep. So he was a shoe repairman, a leathersmith by trade. So he opened up a small shoe repair shop in Lorraine, Ohio. And when my grandfather took over the business, he expanded to be a specialty shoe store. And as the business grew, the biggest independent jingle was "Get your shoesies at Januzzi's," which I never heard on the radio.
Get your shoesies at your
family histories. Yes. Yeah, so he was he was a shoe store guy. So he would always tell all of his kids, my mom and my 3 uncles, and then all of us grandchildren, he said, you never just want one pair of shoes. You want to have at least 2 pairs of shoes, because if you wear one pair of shoes down, the insoles form to your foot, the soles wear out, and it's going to hurt your foot, which is going to hurt your legs, and it's going to hurt your back. And he was a great salesperson, right? Like, is this true? Who knows? But he sold all of us on it. So we would always have, a couple pairs of shoes. You wear one on a Monday, you wear the other on a Tuesday, you wear the first one on the Wednesday, you wear the other on a Thursday, right? Like, you go back and forth because you never wanted the insoles to change. Like, you wanted it to be even with each other. So I grew up in the 90s when sneaker culture and, like Michael Jordan was huge. Larry Johnson and the Converse line was huge. So he would always, for my birthday and for Christmas, it was always, a pair of shoes from him. And I just started kind of collecting the shoes that I wore, but I was a kid, right? So like at recess when we were playing soccer, football, or basketball, I would get them dirty. I would get them, but I would go home every night with a can of shoe cleaner and a toothbrush and a rag, and spray the shoe cleaner and wipe it with the toothbrush and then clean it off with the rag. I kept my shoes looking nice. And then once I started to have a job, that's my investment, right? Like, so if you look around my apartment, all I've got is baseball memorabilia and shoes, and it's all I've ever done. So to this point, I think I've got like 75 or 80 pairs of shoes, and they're all sneakers. Like, I have one pair of dress shoes, and my goal in life is to never put them on again. I think that's the coolest part about like working in baseball, right? Is like, if I go to a city ribbon cutting or a press conference or a chamber of commerce event, everybody else there is in their suits and ties and they're all stuffy, and I'm wearing a dry fit polo with the Otterbots brand, a pair of slacks or khakis, and Jordans. And it creates this opportunity for me to kind of personify the identity of, we are different, we're fun, we are not your grandfather's baseball team.
I love it.
So I've kind of adopted that as kind of like my style thing. Like, I have 4 pairs of pants. I wash them, don't worry. But like, I have 10 collared shirts that I wear. I'm not a fashion guy, but my shoes are kind of like the calling card. Like, every day I have a different pair of shoes on. It's my thing. So I'd like to say that it started in the bloodline, right? Like, I have shoes in my blood, but it really is a collector thing. And then I will say I haven't counted. I have a lot of fitteds, and I do have probably like 20 or so dad caps. It's nowhere close to the collection that you've amassed and some of the folks that you've had on. But I do really love the minor league brands. And
absolutely,
when I go to a minor league ballpark, like, sometimes if there's a shirt that I really, really like, I'll get the shirt. But more often than not, I'm getting a hat. So what I like to say is, like, I own, I don't know, like 6 or 7 black t-shirts, just plain black. I'll wear the black t-shirts with a pair of jeans or a pair of khakis, but then my shoes and my hat, that's always going to be the quote unquote the fashion piece that I've always got on.
I agree. That's part. And you know what? And there's one thing I agree with you wholeheartedly is that's your identity, right? Like, for me, the hats. I mean, that's why I love minor league baseball, because we are able to root for everybody, right? And at the same time, it's okay. And I love their hats. I love looking at hats. I love collecting the hats. Obviously, you see in my back wall, I have over 150 hats, right? But it's just every day is one different. I mean, I'll say this. There's days where I was like, you know what? I feel like mismatching, but on the other days, I'm like, all right, I gotta look for something that's gonna look good with my hat. That's just how it goes.
Well, and that's so, like, I was messaging you earlier. My laptop charger is not working, so I have this on pretty low backlight, but I'll turn it up just for this. So this hat that I'm wearing
amazing.
Was our Pride Night hat from this past season. And there were only 50 made, and the only night and the only place to get them were at the ballpark that night. And obviously, they were sold out before the 4th inning. So now we know, hey, this is something that we're going to do more of for next year. But this is one of those things that, like, there are some occasions, like if I'm out, like my Rotary Club, or I do work with the United Way locally and the Education Foundation. But if I'm out doing, hands-on volunteer work, I always am going to represent the Otterbots, but I'm going to wear, one of the hats that I can replace by just going back to the store. This one in particular, there were only 50 made. So I only wear this one on very special occasions where I know I'm not going to get it sweaty. I'm not going to get it dirty. I'm not going to mark it up. I'm not going to get it scuffed. So yeah, it's one of those things where, especially locally, that there are, and I'm just going to plug Danville for a second. There are like 4 or 5 boutique shops that are locally owned and operated that design their own stuff. And for somebody who is new to the area, I was like, look, man, like, I want to rep Danville hard. And obviously the majority of that is going to be through Otterbot stuff. But if I can support some of these other businesses, right. Like I'm going to. And now, like, especially last summer, I went to games in Greensboro. I went to games in Durham, went up to Lynchburg, didn't make it to Salem or Richmond. But, like, when I go to other ballparks, I'm going to wear an Otterbot shirt or a jersey, but my hat, like, I'm going to throw on something that is Danville specific, just to kind of be, cool. an outward support to that. but the coolest thing, and I know that you know this from experience, coolest thing is, like, if I'm going to a Kannapolis Intimidators game, I could wear a Greensboro Grasshoppers shirt and a Durham Bulls hat, and nobody in that ballpark is going to look at me and be like, "Oh, boo, boo."
Yeah,
No, they're
exactly.
going to be like, "Oh man, like you oh, have you been to those ballparks? Like I went last summer and I had a blast and this and that." Like, and again, you talk about that unique environment within minor league baseball. You just don't find that in any other sport.
Correct. And you're absolutely right. If I'm as an Indian, soon to be, hopefully, or whatever, Guardians, right? If I go down to a Detroit Tigers, I'm going to get booed, right? Or, I'm a Browns fan. If I go to the Steelers or whatever, that's how it is. It's just, there's animosity. We get that. Minor league baseball is the only place that I know of where everybody was like, "That's a cool hat. Where did you get it?" Or, and everybody's like, "I love it. That's great." Obviously I'm going to get something. If I go to another ballpark, I'm going to get something from there. And it's okay because nobody's going to be mad at you. Nobody's going to boo you or anything like that. And that's great.
Yep. It's just special, man. Like, it's a special environment.
Yep. You're absolutely right, my friend. I just couldn't, let me ask you, any more merch and new dad hats in the future coming? I want to know, my friend. I want to know.
Yeah. So, my owner's not thrilled with me at the moment. We have an unbelievable amount of new stuff coming into the store.
Yes.
Like an unbelievable amount. And like, as every sector of business, not just baseball, but like everybody knows, the supply chain backup is a real thing.
That is true.
Like I've gotten like 8 or 9 emails over the past couple of days that we're getting our reordered stuff in this week. So like some of the stuff in the store right now, we're missing sizes. We're getting new stuff that is replacing the current inventory.
Mm-hmm.
The new items, we are hoping and praying that it's in before like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, so that we can get it out then.
Yeah.
But at the very least, by the holiday season. And one of the coolest things, like when I moved here in January, I literally knew nobody. And now, since I've been here for a summer and gotten to meet people, there's actually a local print shop that we've partnered up with that's going to be doing some really cool specialty things for us. One of the things that we didn't have in the store was like the novelty stuff, like the small, the koozies, the bumper stickers, the logo baseballs, those kinds of things. Just because the national providers, by the time we had a brand, were
it's already
with us, and they're like, "Look, man,
it's not happening this year.
You can order them, but you're not going to get them until the end of the summer." so
good luck.
So we've got some, exactly. But we've got some cool stuff coming through them. So the hope is that everything is in before the holiday season, but at the very least we will have this is my word in a public atmosphere, that we will have a more robust, more fulfilled store.
Yes.
Hopefully again by the holiday season, but at the very least well before opening day next year. So yeah.
Well, you better believe that I will be buying merchandise. Believe you that I'm going to be purchasing more hats. I can, some hats, maybe some shirts. I love me some stickers, so definitely that.
Well, thank you in advance. No.
Yes. So I asked Anderson, before we went into, before I go into my famous, not so famous questions, to, when I make it down to Danville, if I could throw out, first pitch, I'm guessing he probably, prepared you for that, since you guys are frenemies. But I want to ask something, in particular, and then, you're probably going to laugh. I want to, if it's okay, eventually when I do make it down there, because you guys are so close with each other, I want to be part of that grounds crew that does the raking around the field in between innings. I don't know what it is. I think it's on my bucket list of things to do. I would love to do that if it's okay with you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
And it's one of those things, like it is, like I'll never forget, in Burlington, the city of Burlington provided the grounds crew. So as an intern, we were never out there, doing that. It was always the city staff. My first summer in Greensboro was my first chance to do that. And I remember sitting in a staff meeting the week before opening night, and our president and general manager was like, "All right, we had a groundskeeper and an assistant groundskeeper, but obviously you need 3 or 4 depending on how big the rakes are." He was like, all right, like I need volunteers, to drag. And I immediately was like, oh, I'll do it. And like everybody in the room that had been there for longer than me was like, what are you insane? Like, why would you want to do that? Like, like what? And I was like, dude, like, this isn't like, this is so cool. Like, what are you talking about? And like, yeah, sure. Like you end up with like pebbles in your shoes, but who cares? Like it was one of those things, like, it's such a cool thing that, again, like I grew up but watching games on TV and being at games in the ballpark, and you see these guys down on the field and you're like, oh my God, like I want to do that. So yes. The other thing that I'll tell you, Tim Stoops. We're going to publish this on social media the first week of December. But any of our ambassadors that listen to this episode, and any of your fans that listen to this episode, are going to get a sneak peek. We are going to have an official vote for Ambassador of the Year, and there are going to be 4 finalists. Yes, and Johnny obviously is going to be one of those finalists, and Tim is going to be another one of those finalists. And Johnny and his wife, I think, are planning on coming up either next summer or the summer after. And I know that they've got that trip planned. Tim came down from Montana this summer, and we told all of our ambassadors on that preseason Zoom call, hey, if you make it to Danville, we've got some things for you. And I won't ruin all the surprise, but among those things, Jesse Jones hot dogs. It's a Danville original. They're the original red hot dogs. So we had a Jesse Jones hot dog waiting for him.
Nice.
We had a local beer, one of the local breweries. We had a local beer waiting for him. We had the first pitch, and we had a couple other things thrown in there. So yeah, when you come down, we will have your hot dog, we'll have your beer, and then we'll get you out to drag after your first pitch for sure.
That's awesome. Love it. I absolutely will be there. Don't you worry. I'm seriously planning on next summer going to visit both of you guys. So stay tuned. I'm definitely going. I tell you that.
And look, for just as a quick plug for anybody that is unaware of the geography of our area, when I say that we are in the hotbed of minor league baseball, I mean that.
You really are.
You fly into either like Raleigh, Durham, or Greensboro, you are within an hour and 20 minutes of the Bulls, the Mudcats, the Grasshoppers, the Dash, us, the Sock Puppets, the Hillcats in Lynchburg, and then there's some other kind of smaller teams.
You got that don't have the Holly Springs Salamanders, which is down there too.
The Coastal Plains League is all throughout. The Thomasville High Toms are kind of right between Greensboro and Winston. The Carolina Disco Turkeys obviously, played at the Dashes ballpark last summer. I don't know what their plans are moving forward, but if they're still there, then they're again an hour and 10 minutes away from Danville, an hour and 5 minutes away from Burlington, 45 minutes away from Greensboro. Like you're in the epicenter of baseball, and just with the population growth that our entire area is experiencing, if you're a hotel guy or girl, there are plenty of hotels to choose from, but there are also some really, really cool kind of either downtown apartment Airbnbs if you want to be right on top of the nightlife, but there are also like really cool like lake houses, pond houses, farmhouses that are being Airbnb'd for dirt cheap. So for anybody that is a fan of baseball, even if all
North
of us
Carolina is the place to be.
Yeah, man, like you can straight up like come like tour ballparks, take pictures, go to the stores, check everything out. There is nowhere else in the country that has the percentage per capita and per mileage that we have of baseball teams like within our area. It's pretty awesome, especially as a baseball junkie. Being able to go to so many games without having to pay for hotels. I love it.
and I mean, and obviously you get to see the future players out there, right? In the Collegiate Woodbat League, which is, I've grown to love so much.
Dude, there's one of our guys signed a contract with the Chicago White Sox about halfway through last summer. And unless he gets hurt and unless something crazy happens, he's lined up to start next season in Winston-Salem. And obviously their season starts in April. Ours doesn't start until late May, early June. So like, we're going to go down, and I've already told him, like, look, even if we only have 10 people that want to go, we're going to all paint our chests to spell Otterbots and like just stand and yell for every pitch that he throws.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Let me ask you, because Anderson said this, like, do you have like, players already, sending you emails and everything? Hey, I want to go play for you. I want to go play for you.
It's been somewhat overwhelming. Yeah.
That's great.
And I I think and I'm not sure. I've heard Anderson on so many podcasts at this point. I'm sick of hearing his voice,
His
and I hope
voice.
he hears me say that. But no, but he said on one, and it might have been this one, that our assistant general manager when we were interns together for the Burlington Royals is now the president of the Savannah Bananas, and he has been since day one. And he's kind of created that environment in Savannah, right, where players know it is high level baseball. They're going to get their names on the map to be drafted. I think they had like 7 guys drafted this past year from their past 3 summers of teams, but they're also going to have a good time.
And that's the
I
point.
think that's what, between us and Burlington, that is what sets us apart, is that these guys know they're going to have a good time while playing high level baseball. So we have had a handful of guys that were not a part of the Appalachian League last year that have reached out saying, hey, I would love to be in Danville next summer. And then we've also had a handful of our guys from last summer that say, hey, I'm
coming
back in the league next year. How do I make sure that I'm in Danville? And look, man, like for our fans, for our community, for them, selfishly, it makes me feel good that we're doing at least one thing right.
Yep.
Like it
no, it's amazing.
It's
it really
awesome.
is.
It's been awesome.
Yeah. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, whether people want to admit it or not, this is a kid's game. That's what it is.
Yep.
And if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.
Exactly.
Simple as that.
Exactly. Like that's, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Are you ready, my friend?
I'm ready.
All right. So, and this is the first one, the easy one. I'm sure you've heard this one. Go to the ballpark. Okay. Not as a general manager, not as an employee, as a fan. What is your snack of choice? And then I'm going to add, what is also your drink of choice?
Yep. So as mundane as this sounds, popcorn is my snack of choice. And the reason is I like to be able to sit there and like munch on it. Right. So like if I get a giant tub of popcorn, I'm going to have it for 3 innings. And it's generally a low dollar option. So I really, really like popcorn. I am a fan of beer. And when I go to a new ballpark, especially if they do have a local brewery that they've partnered up with, either, a specialty branded beer, or it's just something local that I'm not going to be able to get anywhere else. I'm going to get that. I am also a sucker for the the fresh squeeze lemonade. Like I love lemonade at a ballpark. I do. I can't lie to you.
There's nothing wrong with that, my friend. All the sugar in there. That's why not. That's what the ballpark is all about. Speaking of, really quick though, do you guys have a local beer at your ballpark? Like, Otterbots brand or anything like that, or are in the works, of doing that? Are you able to hear me? Did I lose you, my friend?
Yes. Yeah. So you broke up a little bit. So
okay.
So we have 2 local breweries that do have beers on tap at the ballpark.
Nice.
That you can get at their tap rooms as well. And just piggybacking off of a conversation that was on Twitter today.
That's right.
Are in the middle of conversations about having a specific Otterbots brew. Yeah.
Love it. Amazing. I love it. Okay, so here we go. Let's see, Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Amen.
And I have no other reason besides that. It's what I grew up on. It's what I grew up on.
It's a great answer. We don't need no more explanation. Star Wars it is. I love it. Okay. Strangest thing that you've ever eaten?
Oh God. Okay, so it was while I was in school at Wisconsin. It was a barbecued, it wasn't a locust, but it was like a big, juicy insect. And it was actually part of a Bloody Mary. So it was like on the stick that goes in a Bloody Mary with like a pickle and celery and olive and a sausage, but it was a barbecued insect. And it actually wasn't bad.
Okay. All right. Hey, listen, I've been telling people I want to go to Seattle just so I can try their crickets, but that's neither here or there. If you were to own a boat, what would be the name of the boat?
Oh man. All right. So it's really hard for me to not say Scotter, which is our mascot name. But if I'm removing myself from the position of the team, it would probably be like Sail Force One. because the Air Force One is one of my favorite sneakers of all time. And then the joke with the president's plane being Air Force One, so Sail Force One.
I like it. Good name. I love it. That's a good name. I like it. Favorite board game?
Oh man. It's hard to not say Scrabble, but I'm also now becoming a bigger fan of Settlers of Catan.
Never heard of that one. Got to look it up.
It's
I've
fun.
never heard of that.
It's fun.
Okay, I would look it up, my friend. I was gonna ask, cat or dog, but from your doggy behind you, I'm already gonna, go with a dog. Love it.
Yep, dogs for sure. Dogs for sure.
Okay. Deep dish or New York style?
New York style, and I don't have anything against deep dish, but like the pizza is pizza. Deep dish is an entirely separate form of food group in my mind. Yeah,
absolutely. You are correct about that, my friend. You are absolutely right. What is your most used emoji on your phone?
Oh, okay. So it's either the fire or the 100. I use those both so much.
I like it. Listen, or use them both at the same time. I mean, they go together. All right. If animals could talk, which animal would be the rudest animal?
Oh, hippopotamus. They just have that air. Like
arrogance.
They know they're bigger than everybody else, but yeah, just hippos for sure.
I like it. All right. Growing up, your first celebrity crush?
Oh my God. Hayden Panettiere.
I'm not familiar.
Tell me. So when I think she's like a year older than me. But she was the daughter in Remember the Titans. And I remember seeing Remember the Titans and liking her a lot. And then she was in Heroes and like a lot of other, but Hayden Panettiere. Yep,
you're right. Absolutely. You are right about that, my friend. I like it. Okay. Pancakes or waffles?
If I'm making them at home, pancakes. If I'm buying them somewhere, waffles. Waffles win. Waffles for sure. I just can't make them to save my life.
Good. Yeah, I try to make waffles at home. It just doesn't work out. It never does. I don't know what it is.
I don't know what it is. They're hard to get right, but when you get them right, it's so good.
Love it. Okay, a couple more here. What is your favorite sports movie?
Oh, okay. So it's impossible for me to not say Bull Durham, but if I had to say
aside from that one, because I mean you're from the Durham area.
Yeah. Like I can't say it, but Rudy.
Good movie. Good movie. I like it. Pineapples on pizza? Yes or no?
Like if I'm at a function and the option on like the menu is pineapple pizza, I'm not going to say no to it. But would I ever order it? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
That is, you know what? I will leave it there because that is a great answer. Okay. We're headed into the holiday season, Thanksgiving. Yep. What is your favorite Thanksgiving dish?
Mashed potatoes. If I got a Thanksgiving plate of just mashed potatoes, I would be happy. Mashed
gravy or no gravy though?
All day. Oh, gravy. Gravy
okay,
for
good.
Sure.
Okay, good. Yeah. I cannot eat mashed potatoes by itself. I just can't do it. But if you put gravy, I will slather them suckers with gravy all day long. I'm okay with that.
Amen.
Okay. And then last question here. Okay. Tacos or burritos?
Tacos.
Okay.
But real tacos. So like corn shell, or corn tortilla.
Oh,
tacos.
Okay. All right. Now see, I can agree with that.
Like onions, cilantro, like no frivolous nonsense. Like give me like a good seasoned meat, onions, cilantro in a corn tortilla, tacos. If the only option is a hard shell taco, I'll take a burrito.
You know what? And I'm glad you said that because not a lot of people know that. Like I went to Mexico. My sister-in-law is from Mexico, and when they say tacos is that's it. It's cilantro and onions. That's it. Nothing else on it. Not like here in the U.S. And I'm You know what? I see. Yeah, I got you. Good man. Good man. Austin, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. I'm going to ask, obviously, I'm going to have you come back on eventually, you know, because, you know, when I go visit, we'll have something over there. But thank you so much for doing this, my friend.
Absolutely. We'll do like a, won't be live, but we'll record for like 15 minutes, like during the game in the press box or something. Like,
you know what?
We'll make it fun.
It's on. You got it, my friend. Thank you so much. All right.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. Go Otterbots on Twitter and Instagram if you don't follow us already. But thank you so much, man. You're doing
Go Otterbots.
work.
Absolutely.
You're
Make
doing,
sure you guys are following them. Yeah, because it is a fun Twitter account. Absolutely.
Thank you. Keep up the good work. You're doing something that nobody else in the industry is doing right now. It's important. So thank you.
It's what all I can do is just a single man. I can simple man here, just doing what I can. Thanks, my friend.
Thank you.
All right. Seriously. Beer mover, right? How cool is that? Make sure you guys are following the team. It is Go Otterbots, okay, on all social media platforms. So that way you guys are always in the know what's going on, all right? And then a couple of things before I go for the podcast itself. If you guys are looking for the audio version, it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Amazon, and it's even now on Facebook, okay? So make sure you guys are looking for it, all right? Make sure that you guys are also telling one person about this, okay? So that way they can enjoy it as much as you are, all right? Until then, guys, keep on grinding and always support the minor leagues. See ya.